My name is Galen McKinley. I'm a professor of atmospheric and oceanic sciences here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. My research is both in the oceans and in the Great Lakes. And what we're interested in is understanding how carbon cycles through these large aquatic systems. And we're also interested in understanding these processes in the Great Lakes because the forests and the agriculture systems around the Great Lakes region. But some of that carbon ends up in the Great Lakes. And what we'd really like to understand is how much of the carbon that goes into the terrestrial systems is going into the Great Lakes. If somebody says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to pump all the CO2 into the waters of the Great Lakes, for example, we're just going to put it in the deep lake. Well, if you haven't done the science to understand that that carbon isn't going to stay there because the lake overturns twice a year, then you can't have a good reason to say, well, that strategy for carbon control isn't going to work. So we use data that other people have taken over decades of time, either in the global oceans or in the Great Lakes, and analyze that data, try to understand the patterns of carbon cycling. The other thing we do is we use large computers to run computer simulations of the physics and also, of course, the detailed circulation of the Great Lakes. What I'm going to show you here is a tank experiment. And the goal here is really to better understand the physics of fluid under the influence of rotation. We live on a rotating planet, and this rotation you'll start to see that cold water starts to form these really neat eddies that start to move from the cold interior region to the outside of the tank, and the red starts to move in. Our Great Lakes are in our backyard, and we depend on them in many ways. So it's an exciting time to be doing Great Lakes research and to be seeing things done in the Great Lakes that perhaps were done in the global oceans a decade ago. So what I'm hoping that we could do is also begin to talk and communicate with people who understand the impacts of global carbon cycle and the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere.